Hello, everybody. I hate to turn the good vibes off, but we will have more music in between breakouts too. If I've not met you, I'm Marcy. I'm the head of community engagement at Gatheround, and I'm so thrilled you decided to join us today for this session. I am very, very excited about this one. We're going to have our CEO of Gatheround, Lisa Kahn, and the Figjam advocate, the fabulous Katie Chambers, lead us through principles for meeting design today. So if you attend meetings on a regular basis, if you run meetings, I promise this will be a great use of your time. We were just going over the agenda earlier, and I'm super excited to learn from this one too. So before we dig into this, I want to learn a little bit about you. Primarily, have you been in Gatheround before? If you haven't, I'm going to tell you some stuff to make sure that today is a really good experience for you. So have you participated in one but not hosted? Is this your first time ever? Let me know what your status is coming into today. Okay, mostly new people. Amazing. Very cool. Well, welcome to Gatheround. I'm honored to be here for your first time. Couple things to know. Use the chat as much as you want to today. We would love to hear from you, hear your thoughts, hear what's resonating and what's not. So whenever you want to use that to respond to what Lisa and Katie are saying, to what each other is saying, please do. We also have reactions in this room. So if you look in the little confetti button at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a bunch of different reactions. Just so I know you know where those are, can you all press at least one reaction for me? And we'll just flood this room with some good vibes to start out. Amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah, use those as much as you want to today too. And then the last thing that I would love for you to do, and so you know where it is let's all go to settings in your upper right-hand corner together. So when you click settings, it's that little gear icon. You're going to see on the left-hand side, it says your name tag. So you called yourself something when you came into this room. In that first little box, I want you to add anything else that you want other people to know about you today. So it could be your pronouns, it could be the company you're representing, it could be the city you live in, but we're going to be meeting some other folks and breakouts today, so it'll save you a little bit of time on introductions. So I'm going to say Marcy, Denver, Gatheround, and then hit save, and that will change your name in this event. Amazing. I see people's changing. Perfect. All right. Thank y'all. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up your two hosts for today, Lisa and Katie. Thank y'all so much for being here to host this conversation. I'm really excited about it. Hi.
Thank you, Marcy. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Lisa.
I love that you're a meeting fanatic. Me too. This is going to be so fun. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. One of my favorite things about meetings is when they start with an agenda. And I actually think that it's more than just using the time well and having a plan, but actually meetings can be very stressful for people, and you can go into this sort of fight or flight response, and knowing what's coming next will ease that. So we're going to follow our own best practices and start with our agenda. Okay, we're going to start with a little roast. Do any of you ever watch roasts, like those like celebrity roasts? Type in the chat and tell me. Have you seen any of those, Katie? They're so mean. But I guess people think they're funny.
I mean, but they're in good spirits, which makes it fun.
Yes. Which ones have you seen? Or have you seen one recently?
We're preparing to do one at Figma, a design roast of roasting different people's designs over a coffee chat. So we have a blended roast from Figma. It's going to be a great time. What about you? Any favorite roasts you've seen?
Well, I really like the TV show Hacks. It's on HBO for those who haven't seen it. And in season 3, there is like a fake roast of one of the main characters that is really funny, and I enjoy it. Well, we're not going to do a celebrity roast or a coffee roast or a design roast, but we're going to do a meeting roast. So that's what we're going to start with, is a little roast of meetings and we don't like about those meetings to get us started. Then Katie and I will introduce our shared meeting principles. So these are 4 principles that Figjam and Gatheround both share to make meetings better. We'll go over all of those. And as we go through those, we're going to dig into each one and do a series of activities using Gatheround, using Figjam to help you put into practice those 4 principles. At the end, we will make commitments to each other. We'll talk about ways that we can use these principles in our day-to-day, things we're going to do differently immediately at work and in life to have better meetings. Type in the chat and tell me, does that agenda sound good? Are you guys excited about it? And unlike a lot of webinars that people may attend, this is going to be very interactive. So you are going to get to talk to each other, going to get to talk to us. You're going to be on camera for portions of this if you would like to be. It's going to be really fun. And we want to start with a quick one-on-one breakout. So before our roast, you might want to think about meetings, meeting culture. What jokes do you want to make about meetings? And you'll do that by talking to someone else who's here today. So I'm going to start a little one-on-one activity for us. When I do, you're going to move into a breakout. You'll get a partner, someone that you probably don't know, which will be really fun. So you'll get to make a friend in today's session. You will see them, they will see you, and you both will see on the right-hand side a deck of cards that you can flip through to guide your conversation. And the cards are going to be all about meetings and what we like, what we don't like, to help you prepare for our little roast. All right, I'm going to start that now. It'll be 5 minutes. When the time is up, it'll just fade to black and send you right back here. Have fun, talk to someone great, prepare your jokes, your roast, and I'll see you back here in 5. Bye, everybody. Welcome back. Katie, how was your chat?
It was so great. I connected with Shiva and Michelle, and we had this great conversation of like the balance of the like size of the group and the intent of the meeting, really dictating how loose the agenda can be. Really because there's a variety of, when a loose agenda is a good thing versus a bad thing. And it really depends. The common answer to meetings is it depends.
It totally depends. And it's about being thoughtful, which is maybe going to be one of our principles. You all will see. Okay, let's start with our roast. So for those of you that are new to Gatheround, we are going to do a thing called group share. If you think the fade outs are wild, just wait till you experience group share. So group share allows you to pose a question to a group, and then it brings people up one by one to respond to the prompt. And no matter who you are, you get equal time to speak. And the really cool thing is over time, Gatheround learns who tends to participate and who tends to not participate. And we prioritize the people who tend to be a little bit quieter, and the people who are constantly talking are deprioritized. So you are gonna have, if you'd like to do this, 30 seconds each to respond to the prompt. And that prompt is about pet peeves. Like, what are your biggest pet peeves about meetings? And we'll have time for a bunch of us to talk, but probably not everyone. So I'm going to start that now. If you would like to join, you hit join activity. It'll form this little queue, and then it'll bring us up one by one to respond to the prompt and tell us what our pet peeves are about meetings. Keep in mind, you only have 30 seconds. So it's going to go fast, but it's going to be fun. All right, let's do it. Guadalupe is first.
Yes, my biggest pet peeve is meetings without agenda and people just talking around like not important things or like diverging everything that we should be talking about.
Yeah. Who has time for that? I don't. You don't. None of us do. That's a great one. Monique is up next.
I hate, she already gave my my answer about no agendas. But meetings that go over time.
Yeah. Like way over. Sometimes people are like, it's 45 minutes later. Like, how are we okay with this? How is no one saying anything? Also, I love your, what's it called? Background doesn't understand your background. That looks so funny.
Yeah, I have a painting on a.
Yeah, our background didn't understand that wasn't you. Hi, Caitlin. So nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my camera's not working in this main breakout for some reason.
No, it is working.
Nice to meet everyone. Oh, perfect. Okay, I just can't see myself.
Yeah.
My biggest pet peeve was already mentioned, but timing of meetings running over. Love it when we can schedule meetings where they end like 5 minutes early, especially when you're in the office and you need to get from one conference room to the next. That's really important. So
that's right. I haven't had that in a long time, but that's such a thing when you're. How many of you work in an office? Type in the chat and tell me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ox. I'm a senior at Boston University.
Awesome.
My pet peeve about meetings is when it's not communicated who's going to be leading the meeting, and you show up and you're supposed to have questions, or you show up and you expect them to have questions, and that kind of dissonance.
That's such a thing. I'm really into clear roles and responsibilities in life in general, always, and that definitely is a thing when running meetings. Yeah, like who's leading, who's thinking it through. So important. Hi, Raphael.
Hey, how's it going? I think I'm doing pretty good. I was thinking about the thing that most annoys me is when there's not agreement on what's going to be talked about. So I think kind of some things that were brought up around like a lot of talking and people being on different pages. And then the other one is this could have been an email.
Yeah.
Such a good one.
Such a good one. So true. Hi, Shiva.
Hey, I think a lot of the things that I was going to say, everyone already covered, but yes, things such as like when people send an invite without adding anything about what the meeting is about in either the title or the description. And then you get on the call and it turns out to be something that could have been either an email or a Slack message. And everyone's just super confused as to why they're there.
Or you didn't need to join. Like if you knew what the agenda was, you wouldn't have made the time to join. Totally.
Exactly.
You guys, there's a lot of problems with meetings. I'm so surprised that like we all just operate in this way where we think it's okay, even though we all know. Hi, Midori.
Hello. Yeah, actually, I'm just going to reinforce what everyone's been saying. I think my biggest pet peeve is also getting a meeting with no agenda ahead of time. So I don't know what to prepare going into the meeting, and I don't know what I'm going to get out of it.
Totally. Yeah, and because different people have different learning styles, and some people actually really need time to think before being asked to participate. And so, yeah.
Hi, I just put a podcast recommendation about meetings, so watch that. But my biggest pet peeve is when only one person speaks for the whole meeting.
Yes.
I just don't understand.
Yes.
If it was a lecture, I would have joined a lecture. So.
Or tuned in to watch it later at your own time.
Exactly. We are going to talk about that. That is you'll see. One of our principles is definitely related to that. Okay, Katie, your turn.
Yes. Couldn't agree with everything everyone else said. Another thing that I hate about meetings is when they don't create space to make people feel comfortable in the meeting and then like just throw a thorny question at the room and you're like, what are we here to discuss? Why is this important? And like, can we get to know each other first? Like, I don't even know this person that's in the meeting and you're asking me to give a hot take here. That just makes me feel very uncomfortable. And like that's why I'll go camera off.
That's so interesting. And I think some people would be comfortable in that situation than those whose voices are heard. And that probably isn't the only person whose voice you should hear from. Hi, Marcy.
Yeah. Hi. Mine is, even if there's an agenda, sometimes they don't tell you why you specifically were added to the meeting. Like, I want to know what I specifically can contribute, or if I'm just there as a listener, that's great too. But like, tell me that ahead of time so I don't stress out trying to prep stuff, And I also am on board with the, like, tell me what I need to know. Okay, I ran into.
Well, Marcy's someone who likes processing time. And so like knowing in advance what you're supposed to do is important. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, I pretty much resonate with everyone. I guess my biggest pet peeve is someone who's just constantly talking over everybody because they've just got something to share. And when you've got so many people and you got like an hour, you can't share your opinion within that limited amount of time.
Right. Yep. Totally agree. Right. And there's also like power dynamics that come into play. For some people, it's harder for them to speak up at meetings, whether it's their personality, their race, their gender, their age, their seniority, their role in society. Hi, Anna.
Hi, hello everybody. I'm a communications lead at the British International School. So and I agree with all that was said above. But you can handle it. So the biggest pet peeve for me when the meeting extends its time frame, it gets too lengthy, and you have so many tasks to do, and then you have to work like till night.
Yeah,
these are so tied to our principles.
They absolutely are, and I'm loving this group share feature of how it time boxes everyone to talk, and it's hard to fit what you want to say into those 30 seconds, but it's so important because otherwise you can have those people that go on for 5 or 10 minutes, and you're like, this was meant to be an intro prompt, and now we're half the way through the meeting and we didn't get to anything.
And it also leads to really interesting self-reflection. Like you'll learn when you use group share a lot. Am I someone who always uses my full time and then has to get cut off, which maybe tells me I should maybe self-correct and take up a little bit less space? Or am I someone who uses my full time? Maybe that will teach me to take up a little more space, which can just be helpful from like a self-correction, self-assessment perspective.
Absolutely.
Okay,
and
such good ideas.
Go Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let's
No,
dig
you
in.
go.
No,
You
we'll
go.
come back to it. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
I'll put a pin in it.
Well, we're going to talk in a lot more detail about solutions to all these things, but I'm glad that we started by anchoring ourselves in all of the many, many problems. So with that, Katie, let's introduce our principles. We had a really fun time getting together and talking about our 4 principles. So will you walk us through these, Katie? And then we'll dig in.
Absolutely. Yes, and it was hard to narrow it down to 4, but these are the 4 that we feel like no matter what, every meeting that you're approaching, these are the things that you should absolutely be keeping top of mind. And so the first one is designing intentionally. The second one is make it multiplayer. We heard from a lot of you about having one person that's taking up the entire meeting or coming to someone else's lecture. Focus on making your meetings multiplayer. Third, do the work. This is what we were just talking about, like doing the work yourself to show up and prepare for the meeting accordingly, and then doing the work also that happens outside of the meeting to make sure the meeting is a good use of time. And then lastly, have fun. Again, we're all humans connecting together in these meetings, taking time from our otherwise busy lives to be in those meetings. Make it fun. Insert some play to have some fun. So we'll dig deeper into all of these as we go here.
I love it. Thank you. Okay, so let's start by talking about our first principle, which is design intentionally. And we use both of those words intentionally. Designing a meeting is like designing anything else because it is sort of like designing a conversation. And intentionality is really important, being intentional about the who, the when, the what, the how. One of the things that we think a lot about at Gatheround is not just creating an agenda where you know what's going to happen, but actually being thoughtful about how you're going to facilitate that agenda. And so I want to show you all how we at Gatheround solve that problem. And it's through this concept that we have, which is our playable agenda. So if you notice, as we were going through today's session, we were running these activities that are above our heads because not only did we design, here's what we want to cover and here's what we want to talk about, but we were also thoughtful about what's the right modality to deliver that concept. So is it flashcards where you have a little visual aid? Is it screen share, which is what I'm going to do right now? Is it a breakout? Is it group share? Is it a quiz? Is it a poll? And being really thoughtful about designing the experience intentionally to achieve your goals and enable everyone to participate. So that's a really hard thing to do. I want to be clear. It's not easy to design agendas, to facilitate meetings well. It requires a lot of expertise, and we help you with that. So we have a full library of meeting agendas that have agendas and the right sort of modality to deliver that agenda. So one that I want to show you guys is this OKR planning workshop. Designing goals is not easy, and thinking through how to engage everyone is really hard. So for each of these, and you can see all the specifics, this is like a full day. And so it starts with a poll, and then you have flashcards, then you go into small group breakout. To use this, you hit use template, and then you would sort of, assign it to whatever group you're in. This part I want to show you though, which is how you can actually be really thoughtful about agenda design. So we've designed this thing for you where we're starting with a poll and we've written prompts. Then you go into flashcards where we sort of introduce the concept. Then we do a warm up, which is a breakout. But if you want to switch it up, you can like drag stuff in, you can delete stuff. You can move things around, you can drag it around, and you really are like physically dragging and dropping and designing an agenda. Some people will talk about like Canva, being the Canva for video meetings where you take these different pieces. And then to actually run the session, the whole agenda is here. So you do not need to use Gatheround to this. I think my advice here is to be really thoughtful, not only about what you do, but how you want people to participate and how you want people to facilitate the agenda that you've just created.
Such great advice.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to add to the intentionally one? Yeah.
Yes. One thing I love about Gatheround is it giving you these templates to work off of because it gives you ideas of different activities you can bring in. And like Lisa said, it's not easy, and we want to recognize that, but there are tools available like Gatheround to help you think about that, or thinking about Figjam, or thinking about the other tools that you have at your disposal to think outside the box a little bit instead of just kind of talking at a camera or looking at a document for an hour in a meeting. Think about the other ways you can make it more visual, you can make it more interactive. And that's what I love about these agendas in Gatheround is it's giving you all these great ideas, and it's doing a lot of the work for you. You don't have to try to think of all these ideas on your own, which is fantastic. Lisa, we had a great question from Guadalupe in the chat that I'm wondering if we can just chat about
It's
how we
so
can improve
hard.
it. Yeah, so hard when half the team is in person and half the other online. And also maybe just thinking about taking what we have here in Gatheround and applying that to in-person meetings as well. Because we saw in the chat, we have a lot of people that are in the office again today.
Yeah.
So like, and I think we can still use a lot of the same tools here to build our agenda and then think about how we bring those activities into a physical environment. Any other advice you would have there, Lisa?
Yeah. So I think when you're designing an agenda, I want you to think about three things. There's multiple, but there's three that I think are really important. What? It's like, what are we trying to cover? To cover who's leading that part of the agenda, who's running that session, who should be heard, who should participate, and then how. Gatheround does a lot of the thinking around the how for you, but if you can't use Gatheround for whatever reason, be thoughtful about the how. So you can actually just verbally ask people, like, I'm going to ask you a hard question. You probably want some time to think before being asked to speak. So I'm going to spend the next 1 minute having you jot down notes, and then I'll ask folks to speak, right? Or if you say, I'm going to ask a question and I want to hear through a show of hands who wants to participate. Like, really be explicit about the how, and make it really easy for people to participate. As an aside, I probably shouldn't talk about this just yet, but we have a small team that is currently together in London building a prototype for like an IRL meetings tool. So if anyone wants to give us feedback and test that, reach out to me afterward, because it is a problem that we really want to help solve. And it's so early, I shouldn't even be mentioning it, but we are very early in kind of thinking about exactly what Guadalupe is asking, like, how can we help you facilitate better meetings and gatherings when you're either totally in person or some people are in person. Okay, we could keep going about this one forever, but let's keep going and let's talk about our second principle, which is to make it multiplayer. I want to start by giving folks like a little bit of history about that term and why it's so relevant to Figma. So Figma's kind of key innovation was moving from design tools that were single player to being multiplayer. Can you tell us a bit about that, Katie, for those that don't know, because it's a really big deal?
Absolutely. And Figma really revolutionized the way that project designers were working by bringing it into the browser so that it could be multiplayer, as Lisa was suggesting. So that allowed the designer to be designing in their space, but then also bringing in all of the stakeholders that need to provide feedback on their work, like the rest of their design team, leadership, and also their stakeholders in that process. So whether that's their product managers or their engineers, so that you could really have the end-to-end process and have everyone involved in that, not just when you're delivering those designs, but along the way. So you're getting that feedback earlier and more often throughout the process. And so that really revolutionized the way that product designers were thinking about their work and approaching their work. And also the team got to thinking, how can we bring this to other areas of the team's work? And that's where Figjam came out of. And so Figjam is a similar tool in a whiteboarding space, a little bit more informal, more kind of the same open canvas feel, but having some of those fun and playful elements that we'll get into, but really bringing that to any teams, not just designers. And so we use Figjam for all sorts of things now. We'll get into a goal planning template in a minute, but it has that same emphasis on multiplayer. So you'll see things like we're seeing in Gatheround with the reactions, things that really encourage people to come in and collaborate. But this also goes back to what you were just talking about, Lisa, of the who of your meetings. So when you're designing those meetings and designing them intentionally, think about that who and think about how can you not have yourself as the who for every part of your meeting. So how can you like distribute that across the team and give space for different people to run different activities or bring in different topics that are important to them, share out what they've been working on and any feedback, discussion, input they need on their work. So Figjam and Gatheround are great tools to do that. And as you're designing that agenda, back to what Lisa was just talking about, really think about for each of those agendas, how can I make as much of this meeting distributed across the team as possible? So really think about, just like we're talking about for design in Figma, for your meetings, making it multiplayer of how do I get all of my participants engaged in the meeting, but also how do I make the facilitation multiplayer? How do I make sure that other people in our team have an opportunity to facilitate the meetings as well?
And there's so many reasons. Well, I just think there's just so many reasons that's important. It's a lot more fun for everyone if they have a role and if they can participate. For everyone who's engaged in that meeting, it keeps your attention more, because at some point, like when you hear the same person's voice, which has certain intonation, you just sort of lose interest. And it also just allows better ideas to surface when more people are being heard and speaking up. One of the challenges, though, with making it multiplayer is being really thoughtful about different people's learning styles. So when we were doing the group share, Marcy, who I get to work with every day, was starting to talk about how she's someone who likes to know the agenda and her role in advance so that she can prepare. I've worked with Marcy now, how long has it been? Like 3.5 years. And so I know Marcy, I know her as a person, I know what works for her and what doesn't work for her. And one of the things that Marcy needs is processing time. Like she needs time to noodle on something, think about it before being asked to speak. So I know that about her, and I can then design an agenda with the right facilitation, make it multiplayer with the people on my team in mind. So I'm curious for you all. There's 1,000 different frameworks we could use to kind of think about your learning style. But I'm curious about this. How do you identify? Do you lean extroverted? Which means it's like probably really easy for you to speak up in meetings and it gives you energy. Do you lean a little bit more introverted where it's kind of draining? You need people to create the space and the structure and the time to make it easier for you to participate? Or are you an ambivert, something in between? I don't know what I am anymore, so I'm going to say ambivert. Okay, so this is so interesting. Look at this mix here, which makes it all the more important to be really thoughtful about giving people lots of different ways to participate. So what you've seen in Gatheround so far, you've seen a poll, you've seen a breakout, you've seen a group share, you've seen chat, you've seen screen share and people just listening, you've seen flashcards. And I'm sure that you have not participated in all three of those or in all of those activities. Some of you didn't do the breakout, which is totally okay. Maybe that was stressful. Some of you didn't do the group share, totally okay. Maybe you just needed some time to warm up. But I think the key thing for you to take away is that giving people multiple ways to participate makes it a lot easier for things to be multiplayer.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think as a facilitator, and this is, I guess, a good segue here. As a facilitator, the onus is really on you to create those spaces that makes everyone feel comfortable and really makes it multiplayer, and then bringing other people to facilitate because they'll bring their own style to it that might resonate with different folks on the team. And so really you're just creating the spaces for everyone to feel like they have a voice and then to use that voice in order to help you all achieve the goals of what you're setting out for in that particular meeting.
Love it. So let's talk about our third principle. Do the work.
And this one has two different facets to it. The first is just what I was talking about of as a facilitator, think about the work that goes into making a successful meeting and put in that time ahead of time. So it can be really tempting to just throw a calendar or throw a meeting on the calendar and then show up to that meeting and be like, okay, what are we going to do here? Please don't do that. You have to see yourself as a steward of other people's time when you're hosting them in a meeting and really make the most of that time. So that looks like what we're talking about with building your agenda and communicating that agenda so other people can show up appropriately. And then also planning out any activities, anything that your group might need in order to get engaged. So we're actually going to try this out of an example of how we might do this in Figjam. But before that, I want to share the other facet of doing the work is thinking about the meeting as part of the overall work. The meeting itself is not the work. Just because you throw a meeting on the calendar and you show up to it doesn't mean you've done your job. The meeting is part of the larger work of what you're trying to accomplish. So really think about how is that meeting moving your work forward? A lot of you in your pet peeves talked about like no clear follow-up action items afterwards, nothing coming out of the meeting. That is so frustrating, especially for participants who are showing up to your meetings time and again. So try to make sure that you are moving the work forward in the meeting and then following up to make sure that is actioned afterwards. So with that, we're going to hop into our Figjam board here, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So for those of you who don't feel comfortable joining us in the board, that's totally okay. But for those of you who want to, we have an open session started in Figjam, and we're going to have you all try out kind of what this feels like to ideate and reflect in Figjam. So
one suggestion, when you open this up, if you don't have the desktop app of Figma already, encourage you to, when you open up this link, kind of like drag it to a different window or to a different tab so you can be in both Gatheround and Figjam at the same time. Hopefully that makes sense for folks.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. And we're just going to start. A lot of folks are joining in here. Feel free to start capturing stickies in the first two sections here. I'll share my screen for those of you who aren't joining us in the board so you can see what we are all looking at as we're doing this. But this is an example. Oh, and I have to move this window. This is an example of how, does that look okay now, Lisa, on my screen? Okay. This is an example of how you can think about kind of doing the work ahead of time by preparing something like this board that you have here, thinking about what do I need to accomplish in this meeting? You've set your agenda in Gatheround, and now there's a part where you need like a deeper input or ideation or prioritization on ideas with your team. You can mock up a Figjam board similar to what you're seeing here. I pulled this from one of our templates that are available on the community, and then just customize it for your team's needs. So I have here prompts, 2 prompts that I'd love for you all to react to. So what 1 to 2 words describe your work in 2024, and what are your top priorities for 2025? So if I was running an initial ideation session for my team and thinking about goal planning, I might kick us off with an ideation session like this, where I'd open it up to the group to do a little bit of reflection and then do some ideation around what we want to focus on for next year. In Figjam, we have a little timer up here in the top right corner and some music. So I'm going to set 1 minute for us now and have you all try capturing a sticky. If you haven't used Figjam before, all you need to do is go down to the bottom toolbar or hit S on your keyboard, and that will bring up a sticky note. And then you can place that on the board and start typing. So try capturing an idea, and then I'll show you a quick tool to react to those ideas. I'll show you some synthesis, and then we'll hop out into our final principle of the day. So let's get going with some music here. Great, and have everyone ideate. Great, I'm seeing a lot of ideas coming already. A lot of folks, plentiful and busy. I love that, Shiva, as a great overview of 2024. Experimental, Marcy. Yes, I love that spirit of experimentation, bringing that into the year. Harish's year has been exciting. I love that. High craft, Raf. I cannot wait to hear more about that. Love that. A lot of learning from Mara. Fast, high vis from Nikila. Awesome. Thank you all so much for capturing these ideas. What I'm going to show you now is just a few ways that you can react and build on top of the ideas once you've had them. So we've done the work, we've showed up, we have the priorities here, we have some ideas of what we want to do. Let's go over to this priorities section now. So I'm going to spotlight myself in the top right corner here. And now the part of doing the work is, okay, we've ideated in this meeting. How do we then take this and action this afterwards? So a few quick tools that you can use to do that. One is stamps. Stamps are in the bottom toolbar here, or the keyboard shortcut E, and you can go ahead and stamp to react to other people's ideas. If you want to run a more formal vote, you can always use voting, which is in the top right corner here under voting. But I'd love for everyone just to pull up those stamps and react to the stickies here that you think you would also like to prioritize in 2025. So do you want to focus on being an active contributor, to growing your community? I love that, Marcy. Do you want to focus on clarity and focus, intentional growth? So again, grab that stamp in the bottom toolbar here and place your stamp on the sticky that resonates most with you. Great. If you see a few stamps here, let's get a few more stamps added. Everyone try to grab a stamp and add 1 stamp to 1 sticky here. Awesome. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of stamps. This is great. And the reason I'm having you do this is because this is a tool that you can use to then prioritize and take this out of the meeting and do the work to make these come to life. So just very quickly to show you that there's a few tools you can use to prioritize. I have a framework over here for like prioritizing on a 2x2 matrix. So to do that, you would just kind of drag the stickies into that area. But if you click on any section, you'll see this organize option right above the section. And I can use that to sort the stickies by something like stamp count. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to click that option and it's going to create this section. And now we have a prioritized list of our ideas. So coming out of this meeting, what I might do is send you all a list of our prioritized ideas by the stamp count that we had here. And then maybe some ways that I'm going to action those coming out of the meeting. So that was a very quick introduction to using Figjam to both do the work ahead of time to prepare, get input from your group during the meeting and make it multiplayer like we're all here in the meeting, and then coming out of the meeting, having a prioritized way to turn this into action and make sure you're doing the work coming out of that meeting. We'll stop there with our Figjam share. Lisa, what are we moving on to next? Any thoughts, any follow-ups on that?
All I wanted to say is that was amazing and so fast and so cool. I love Figjam. We use, for all things ideation, we structure them in Gatheround and then we use Figjam to capture and record. So the combo is like the best. Okay, we're gonna go to our last principle, which is maybe my favorite. They're all really fun. But the last one is really fun, which is we play. You guys, work is how we spend so much of our time. Adults spend about a third of their lives at work. So many of the friendships that we create are in the workplace. And one of the things that I'm, really concerning about remote work, which I'm generally completely in favor of, is that so many people miss out on those connections, that friendship, that social fabric when they're not connecting with each other when they're remote. And, there's been a ton of research over the last several decades that loneliness is on the rise. So it's a really big problem. The way that we think about it is how can we incorporate connection, conversation, and play into the workplace? So when you're having the meeting, you're also talking to each other. We're also feeling seen and heard for who you are. You're also having fun and laughing, right? How do you guys think about play at Figma in general and within Figjam?
Absolutely. Play is actually one of our 5 core values. So we think about it a lot. Think about the ways to insert the play both into our products and the things like you saw in Figjam. We have things like emotes and the stamps that make it really easy to play and have fun. We also have a ton of widgets. We're going to use the photo booth and Gatheround in a minute. We have a similar one in Figjam, but also some fun game widgets as well. So it's something top of mind for us all the time and something we're constantly trying to bring into our teams, into our meetings, and also into our products.
One thing that we do internally at Gatheround, so I run our all hands meeting. It's every Monday. It's the only time where the entire company is together live. And I always spend at least 5 minutes, often more, creating space for people to talk, not about work, but about what's happening outside of work, what they're reading, what they're watching, and just sort of connect as people because it makes a really big difference. So we're going to spend 4 minutes doing just that. And we're going to have another one-on-one. We'll get to make a new friend. And you're not going to talk about meetings. You're not going to talk about work. You're going to talk about who you are as a person. We call this speed friending. So you are going to make a new friend in a very short period of time. So go ahead and do that. It's the same thing you were doing before where you hit join, you'll get paired, you'll see prompt cards, but these prompt cards are all about you as a person and making a friend. I'll see you back here in 4 minutes. Welcome back. Did you make a best friend?
Yes, absolutely. Caitlin, she's about to have her afternoon tea, and I need afternoon tea now as well. What about you? Did you make a new friend?
I didn't do the breakout. I always like to stay back just in case people get lost or confused, which no one did, which was nice. Okay, one other way we can play is by taking a group photo. So we're going to do another thing where we take a group photo. This one's really silly. It's called Silly Hats. We're in the play zone, you guys. This is the play stage of the meeting. So let's keep playing. Hit join activity. You'll take a fun photo. There'll be a little prompt. It'll be amazing. Okay, you guys, it's developing our photo. What did you put on your head?
I'm a little sick, so I put my tissue box because it's right next to my desk. It's a must-have right now. Oh, your config book.
I don't know why this notebook is the best notebook ever, by the way. It's the way the lines are. It's just my favorite notebook ever. Okay. I love this one. April. This is hilarious.
Oh my gosh, the April, the plant. It's so good, Marcy.
You guys are so silly.
Oh my gosh.
We're playing.
We're playing.
Okay, we are in our final 8 minutes of our meeting, which means it's time to recap, debrief, and talk about next steps, which all good meetings have. So we're going to have you do, I think I want to skip the breakout and just do the commitments. Does that sound good? Okay. So I'd love for you to just noodle for the next 30 seconds or so on what you learned today. Was there anything that you heard from our principals or our examples or from the other folks that were here that maybe you can put into practice immediately to improve your meetings, to change your culture, to update the way that things happen? And we're going to do a little feature. It's called Ask a Question, where things going to pop up with like a little text box, and you can type into that text box your commitments, things that you want to commit to after this session, keeping in mind the principles that we've talked through. You'll have like 90 seconds or so to do that, and you can have as many as you want. So you see this little box that's here, type, you'll hit add response, and then you can have more and more. Really curious what you want to change after today's session. And if you need ideas, as a reminder, our principles are Number 1, design intentionally. Number 2, make it multiplayer. Number 3, do the work. And number 4, play. Yes, these are so good.
Loving these. Play is productive. Yes, could not agree more, Vanessa.
It really is. It makes you creative, which is such an important part of work. Yes.
Use
All
Figma.
right.
Love to see it.
Yeah.
Yay, and Gatheround for that matter. Mine was around doing a better job time boxing, and that's one of the things I love about Gatheround is it adds a lot
Yeah.
of that structure in for you, so you as a
Yeah.
facilitator don't have to be like the time cop or the bad person in the meeting that's like always like keep it, Gatheround just does that for you, which is so
I
fantastic.
know. It makes meetings a lot more efficient and always end on time. Okay, feel free to just scroll through and read some of folks' ideas, commitments. You also will get these in a recap that you'll get later today. And with that, Marcy, come on up and bring us home. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you all.
That was amazing. Thank you both so much. I can personally attest Lisa is fantastic at running meetings. I'm in several of her meetings per week, and I've met with Katie a few times, and I can tell that she is the same. So y'all are the perfect people to learn from today. One other thing that we didn't mention too much today is getting feedback from your meeting participants too. And that's one thing we always like to do with our community events. So the last thing we're going to do today is get some feedback from y'all. So this is just one question. It's going to ask you, did you have a terrible experience today? Did you have a great experience? Choose one of those. And then you can also write some free text for me in there. We love getting your feedback because it helps us be better at our jobs. So please be honest. If there was something you loved or hated or wanted more of or less of, let me know in that comment box, and we'll review these and make sure that we optimize for next time. But thank you all so much for being here. And again, thank you, Lisa and Katie, for hosting. That was awesome. Yeah, let's all give them some thanks reactions or yay or love or whatever you're feeling. And that's all we got for you today. We somehow managed to end 4 minutes early, which never happened. So great time management.
When Caitlin said she loves when meetings end early, especially if you're in an office, I took
There
it
you
off
go.
on myself as my personal mission to make us end a few minutes early. So you guys
Caitlin, that's for
stretch your
you. So you
legs,
have,
get some coffee, go to the bathroom, breathe, whatever
walk
it is
to
that
your
will
other
feel
conference
good.
room, whatever it is you need to do. Amazing. I'm going to play us out with some NSYNC, Bye Bye Bye, and hopefully we'll see you at another community event very soon.
Thank you all.
Bye.